gallery. There.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our class today. We are in Crochet 101 with Tamara Kelly from Moogly Vlog. We're so excited to be here this Saturday and to teach y'all crochet. Welcome in. Feel free to let us know where you're joining us in the chat here. I am Allie W. from Yarn Inspirations, and I'll be helping get any of your questions that you have over to Tamara. So feel free to let us know in the chat if you have any questions throughout. We're so excited to be here. I know that a lot of you are returning guests, and of course with this Crochet 101, I feel like a lot of you might be newbies to taking our classes, and we're so excited to have you here. So today, of course, we're going to be teaching the scalloped crochet dishcloth, but really what it is today is a Crochet 101 class, Crochet for Beginners. So we're super excited to have you all here, and can't wait to get started.
All right. So as Allie was saying, hi, I'm Tamara, and hi from everybody. I'm watching your little notes in the corner, and people are here from all over. So thank you so much for joining us today. So yeah, today I want to teach you just the absolute basics of crochet. And to do that, perfect pattern for it is this scalloped crochet dishcloth. And so if you signed up for the class, you should have gotten a link, and I know they're going to be putting the link in the chat if you didn't get it. So it's a really, really simple pattern. It's made up of just the most basic stitches that you'll learn when you learn how to crochet. So even if you don't walk away, you won't walk away today with a full dishcloth because we're breaking it into two parts. We're going to make the middle basic section today, and then in Crochet 102, which is in 2 weeks, we'll be making the outer or edging and border. So those will be some new skills there. But today I just want to get you through those very basic skills of crochet. And if you haven't crocheted today or before ever, I really want to tell you one of my favorite things about crochet is how easy it is when you make a mistake to just get rid of it. So many other things, you know, crafts, arts, a recipe, you throw in, you know, a cup of salt instead of a teaspoon, you're in trouble. You're going to probably have to start over, right? In crochet, if you make a mistake, you can just pull it right on out. You could pull it all the way out and just have yarn again. So it's a very forgiving thing. So I want you to go ahead and take your time and not worry about, you know, oh gosh, I've made this stitch wrong, or I've made these few stitches wrong. You can keep going if you want to, or you can just pull it right back out and start again. No harm done. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to be making here down on our hands view. So if we could switch to the hands camera, thank you. All right, so like I said, we're making this washcloth, and right here is just the center portion. And this is the part we're going to be working on today. And next hour, I do not expect you to get this whole thing made. Absolutely not. If you can get a couple rows, that will be awesome. If all you've learned at the end of this is how to chain and make the basic stitches, that's great too. Making a simple square like this, or a rectangle, if you want to make it longer or shorter, whatever you want, is a great way to learn how to crochet. And dishcloths, crochet dishcloths, you know, may not be your favorite thing to actually wash dishes with, but when you make a dishcloth, it's a great way to try new stitches and learn new stitches and make something practical at the same time. So let's start by going ahead and taking a look at that written pattern that you should have gotten. Again, the link should be in the chat, or it will be soon if it isn't there yet, or you may have gotten that link in your email. This is a free pattern download from Yarn Inspirations, and there are thousands of free crochet patterns there to try, but this is a great one to start with because it is very simple. So I just want to walk you through some of the parts of this pattern in case you haven't seen a written pattern before. Now, right here, we have a picture of the dishcloth. As you can see, mine's black and white. I just didn't happen to have any color ink, but that just shows you right there too. Right down here, we've got all these colors listed. Don't be worried about these versions. It's showing you the different colors that they've used up here, but you don't have to use those same colors. When you do a crochet project or any project, a knit project, you don't have to use the same colors that they call for in the pattern. You can use any colors you want. So when you go out and buy your Lily Sugar and Cream for this pattern, you can get any of those colors that appeal to you. For this pattern, we'll be using two different colors, one for the center and one for the outer edging. But today we'll just be using one of the colors. Again, whatever color you want to use is fine. Right here underneath the materials, it says a US H8 5mm crochet hook or size needed to obtain gauge. Gauge is one of those things that you'll need later on in your crochet career when you start making things that need to be a certain size, like a sweater or hat, things that you really need to fit. Right now, we don't need to worry about gauge. We're making a washcloth. If it's 6 inches wide, if it's 7 inches wide, if it's 8 inches wide, doesn't really matter. We're just having fun learning how to crochet and making a handy little thing at the same time. So you'll want to look for a US 8 5mm crochet hook. This is just a standard regular old crochet hook I have here. And right there, you can see where it says 5mm. So some crochet hooks will have the letter, some will have the millimeters, and some will have both. But the millimeter part is how you always know you have the right size. If you don't have a 5mm, you've got different yarn and hook, that's fine. Go ahead and use what you've got with you today. We're just going to be learning these stitches. Now let's take another look at the written pattern. Up here, you've got the abbreviations to help you because we use a lot of abbreviations inside the written pattern. And I'll be going through that a little bit with you today too. But this is really handy if you ever run across something in a written pattern and you say, gosh, I don't know what SC means. What does that mean? Well, it's right up here. It's single crochet. Down here is the measurements. That shows that the finished one should be 8 inches square. But again, we're not going to worry too much about that today. Same thing for gauge. That's a little bit more of an advanced skill. So we're just going to go ahead and move on to the written pattern, which starts with the instructions. Now, this says with MC, chain 23. I'll be going over how to do that in a second here, but I just want to point out the MC part just means main color. So whatever color you want to use to begin your dishcloth. So let's go ahead and set this aside. We'll come back to it for the later instructions, and we're going to go ahead and start with those very basic skills to get started. So let me pull up some yarn here, and it's always a good idea to go ahead and pull some out of your skein so that you've got some nice loose yarn here to work with. And if you don't have a full skein to begin with, again, we're just learning some basic stitches today, so don't worry too much about it or even what your yarn is made out of. If you are looking for Lily Sugar and Cream, Michael's is absolutely a great place to get it. Lots of great colors. So the first thing we need to do is make a slip knot. So if you've never made a slip knot before, what you do is you can see here, and put this hook down. I've got the end of the yarn right here. I'm going to loop it over, just like so, to make a loop. Then I'm going to bring that tail right behind that loop, right there. And then I want to stick my hook under that loop, okay? Right there inside our knot. And then if I pull on both of those ends, that makes a slip knot. And the fun thing about a slip knot is that it is adjustable. So I can pull on those ends. I can angle it right here for the camera. I can pull on those ends and pull it up tight to my hook. Or if I decide that's too tight, I can give it a little wiggle and tug on it, and now it's loose again. After you've made that slip knot, what you want to do is make sure that short end is the end facing you when the hook is in there. So you have to take it off and switch it around. That's fine too. Let's go ahead and do that together again. And then after that, I'm going to show you an alternative to the slip knot in case knots just aren't your thing today. So you see how I just pulled on both ends and that just disappeared? That's what I'm talking about. Crochet is great for that. So let's do it again. We've got our end here. We are going to just loop that right on over to create a loop like that. Then pull that end behind the loop we've just made. Right there, okay? So you can see it's just a loop we've made. We've got our yarn behind it, and then we want to put that over our hook, kind of secure it with our finger, and pull on those ends. And then we've got a slip knot. Now there are lots of different ways to make a slip knot. Other people do it from a slightly different angle, a slightly different way, and that's fine too. So if you need to look up slip knots, a couple different videos to see how people do them, one way might work better for you than others. But of course, you can pull on these ends and it all goes away again. So now let's talk about an alternative way. If the slip knot is not working for you, because I'm gonna go ahead and reveal something here. When I learned how to crochet, I probably crocheted for 6 months before I actually learned how to make a slip knot. So if you cannot make a slip knot, what I want you to do instead is just lay your yarn over your hook here. So we've got a good couple inches of tail, and then of course the rest of it's attached to our skein. Go ahead and just lay your hook down And very gently, we're just going to kind of tie a double knot. Just as you would normally, tie a knot if you were tying your shoes or tying a string that you just wanted to tie onto something really tightly. Go ahead and pull it, and you don't want it to be super tight on the hook. Okay, you can see how it's just a little bit loose there. We've got some room to play. That's what we want. Then we can do it again so that we get just a regular double knot, like so. And as long as we've got room to move that hook inside that loop, then we're golden to go ahead and start crocheting. So even if you can't do a slip knot, as long as you can do any sort of knot, just to get that first loop on your hook with a little bit of play, then you're all set. Now, a note about this loop on your hook. This is the first thing we need, is getting that loop on there, but the loop that's on your hook is never going to count as a stitch. So as we go to count our stitches, we don't count the one that's on our hook. So we've got our knot. It's time to start chaining. Let me move this background yarn out of the way a little bit here so it's easier to see. Okay, here's how I like to do it. I like to use my non-hook hand. I'm using my right hand with my hook because I'm right-handed. So if you're left-handed, it's totally fine to switch. Whatever hand is most comfortable for you. So go ahead and put a little tension on that tail end there. That's our cut end. That will make this next part just a little bit easier. Now you can see I've got my working yarn for my skein draped over my first finger of my non-hook hand. And that just gives me a little way I can squeeze my fingers together to give the yarn a little more stability and tightness. I can relax them if I want the yarn to flow easily. So that's just another way to help control your yarn. You're going to be learning a lot of manual dexterity skills today that you may not have used before. So go ahead and take your time and just really get comfortable. Some people hold the hook like this. You see I'm holding it almost like a pencil, right? Like so. Some people prefer to hold the hook overhand like this. So however you prefer to hold it, maybe a combination of the two, go ahead, play with it. It's fine to start out one way and switch, whatever is most comfortable for you. So we've got the handle of the hook in our hand, and this is the actual hook portion right there. You can see the hook of our hook. And what we want to do is we want to yarn over with our working yarn. So that's the end of the yarn that's attached to the skein. And yarning over means we're going to bring it over the top of the hook towards us. Then we use the hook of the hook, the actual hooky part here at the end of the hook, to grab that yarn and pull it through the loop that was on the hook before, just like that. Now, that loop that we've just made right there, that's our first chain. So you can see here's the top of that chain. You can see it's kind of got two loops. Here's the bottom of that chain. It's got one loop. And now we're going to make another one. We yarn over with that yarn coming from the back to the front over the top of the hook towards us, and then use that hook to pull on through the loop. And just like that, we've made two chains. So we just keep doing that. Yarn over and pull it on through the loop. Yarn over and pull it on through the loop. So let's take a look at what we've done so far. I'm going to go ahead and pull my hook out of that loop. I just like to stick my finger in there. It keeps that loop nice and secure so it doesn't pull out. But if we look here, you see those little V's right there, like that, made up of the strands of yarn. Those are our chains, just like so. Now, I just saw a question pop up. What if it's too tight? That is very easy to do. If you are putting too much tension on that yarn and you just can't get that loop back through, then you need to relax your working yarn a little bit and give it a little tug if you need to. See, you can pull that loop up huge if you wanted to. A little bit more advanced technique. You can do some fun stuff with that later, but for now, you just want to keep it so that it slides nicely on your hook so it's not too tight. And if you do start to find that you get a little stuck, here's a little tip too. You'll notice if you yarn over and grab that hook, grab the yarn with your hook, if you point the hook down towards you or down towards the previous stitches you've been making, there's a little bit more room there to get that head of that hook on through the chain. So that's chaining. And I want to show, there is absolutely, there's ways to get mixed up on chaining. And if you make a mistake on your chaining, if you feel like some of them are too big and some of them are too small, that's so normal. That's exactly what happens when you first learn how to chain. So if you've got some you don't like, you can get rid of them the exact same way you got rid of that slip knot. Just go ahead and give that yarn a tug and all those chains go away. We're right back to our yarn. Right now, we're down to that knot. Since I did use a double knot, this one isn't going to pull out, but I can slip that right back on my hook and start again. So let's do that together. We've got that loop on our hook from our knot. Again, this does not count as a stitch. That's important to remember. Then we yarn over, bring our yarn from the back of the hook towards us over the top of the hook, then use that hook part to pull it through that loop that was on the hook before, and you've made your first chain. So then you just do it again. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through. So we're going to keep doing that for this dishcloth until we have 23 chains made. So I've got 3 here, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll yarn over and pull through, like so, and yarn over and pull through. So we'll do that a total of 23 times. So just go ahead and take your time with the chaining. Allie, can you tell me, do we have any chaining questions that I can answer?
So there is a question here. Their starting loop has fallen off their hook when they go to start chaining.
Oh, let's go back to that starting loop then. Let's see, we've got that loop. If you used a double knot, then you've still got that loop in there. If you've got a slip knot, then you may need to remake your slip knot. But however you want to get your loop made, it can fall off your hook. Not a big deal. We just put our hook right back in that loop and make sure that the tail end is the one closest to us. So you can kind of see how one wants to be in front and one wants to be in back. We want the tail end closest to us. And then we just want to make sure that that knot leaves us enough room to slide back and forth. So you have to, if you need to give it a little tug, loosen it up a little bit, or take it out and put in a new one, that's totally fine. I know when I was first starting, I would probably spend the first 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes getting that knot the right size because I didn't know how to do a slip knot. So it's fine to take your time with that. Once you've got that first loop on your hook, then you just yarn over and pull it through. And counting the chains can be difficult. Learning how to recognize and read the stitches you've made does take time. So if you find, at the end of this that you had 24 or 22, I can show you how to work around that too. But it can help if you just start from the beginning, maybe take a moment to yourself and go ahead and count out 23 as you make them. That can be really helpful too. What we're looking for as we count those stitches is from the top. Give the camera a chance to sort of focus there. There we go. At the top, we've got these V's. Each one of those V's is one stitch. It's one chain. So the next one you can see is kind of nested in there. That's the second chain. And then there's the third chain. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning again for those who are tuning in a little late. And I used a double knot here, so I'm going to have to go ahead and cut that one out, which is fine. It's just yarn. There we go. So let's go ahead and do the slip knot one more time before we move on with our chains. We're going to take the tail of our yarn. Here's the cut end right here. We are going to make a loop just like so. We're just going right over so it makes a loop, okay? Then we're going to bring that tail end behind the loop we just made. There we are. And then we just stick our hook right under that loop there in the center, that tail end. And then we can pull on both of those ends to make our slip knot. And the great thing about a slip knot, the reason it is the most desirable one, is because it is adjustable. You can tighten it right up to the hook. If that's probably too tight to pull a stitch through, so then you can pull it right back down, loosen it back up, and you'll be all set to start crocheting. So let's go ahead and make our 23 chains. Again, we just yarn over from the back to the front, grab that yarn with our hook, and pull it on through. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop counting so you can count your own, because I know my counting will mess you up. So I'm going to go ahead and get my 23 chains made as well. So just go ahead, like I say, and take your time. And it's okay if they're a little wonky right now and if some are bigger than others. We're just getting started and we're making a washcloth. It's not going, you know, you might frame it. I don't know. Maybe you will frame it and hang it up on the wall, but it's a practical little item that doesn't have to be perfect, especially when you're getting started. I really wish now, in retrospect, I had kept some of my first projects, because I think it would be really good to show people, you know, you can learn these skills as you go. The first projects probably aren't going to be perfect, and that's totally fine. So let's see here. We need 23. So I'm going to see how close I am.
So we just have we've had a couple of questions about yarn splitting. And I also just wanted to take a minute to encourage everybody that if you are having trouble, this video will be available as a recording. So there's no shame in watching along today and going back to the recording and watching it over and over and over.
Oh, yeah. Please do. Please do. These initial skills are absolutely the trickiest to get. But the great thing is, once you get the skills that I'm going to show you down today, you can take those and do pretty much anything after that. So if you're having trouble making the chain, remember, try and wind that yarn over your finger so you can create tension there between your fingers with the working yarn. That's the yarn attached to the skein. And then use your other fingers of that hand to really give a hold down, whether that's on the tail or on the chains you've made before. And that can create, if you see here, there's a lot of tension there. That's really tight on my hook. Not necessarily great for pulling it through, but when I'm yarning over and get up real close to there, then I can relax that tension a little bit and pull it on through. So if you add a little bit more tension to both ends of your yarn there, both your chain and your working yarn, the yarn attached to the skein, that can make it a little bit easier to get that pulled through. So let's see. If you're left-handed, and I'm not left-handed, so it's going to be a little awkward for me, but basically you would yarn over from back to front towards you, and then again, I'm not left-handed, so bear with me, pull that on through the loop like so. There we are. All right, now I've got to switch back to right-handed or I'm going to be in trouble. And I'm going to go ahead and take that out, because if I were to stop and count these on camera, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to mess anybody else's counting up, I just made another one and that would be 24. So if you've made 24 or 25 or however many too many, you can just go ahead and pull it right on out. You pull them out one stitch at a time. Then you can put your hook right back in that loop. So if you're crocheting and you put it down and then you pick up your work again and your hook has fallen out, not a big deal. You've got a loop there. You can just put your hook right back in that loop and start crocheting again. Give that working yarn a tug, and we're right back where we need to be. So Allie, do we have any more questions about chaining before I move on?
So I know that there was a question here about they're having trouble because their knot just keeps sliding off. I would maybe just encourage, giving it another shot, rewatching the video, because I really feel like it just might take a couple tries.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very easy to feel very clumsy at first. I know I certainly did. And if you, for whatever reason, let me put it this way. When I first learned how to crochet, I picked up the wrong hook and the wrong yarn for learning. And so it's entirely possible if you're trying to learn with something like thread or something with a lot of texture, that can make it a little bit more difficult. So for your first project, you want to use a really smooth yarn. Lily Sugar and Cream is a great example. Red Heart Super Saver is another great example. Anything where it's nice and smooth. Those textured yarns are a lot of fun and they're very pretty, but they are very difficult to learn on because you cannot see your stitches. So you'll want to start with a nice smooth yarn if you can. So, oh, and then somebody said something I know about splitting the yarn, and that can happen if you've got, it's gonna be hard for me to do with this hook because this hook has a more rounded end, but some hooks have a sharper end and you'll find yourself splitting the yarn. And some yarns just really wanna split. Lily Sugar and Cream, I don't usually have that problem, but basically when it splits, let me go ahead and pull the yarn up real close here. it means it's coming untwisted, or you're working between those different strands. You can see how the yarn itself is made up of several strands of yarn. That means your hook is splitting those strands apart. So I prefer to do, if I find that I have a stitch where I've split the yarn, again, I just go ahead and pull that stitch out, and then go ahead and do it again, and make sure this time I'm getting all those strands over my hook, and then I'm not pulling, splitting them in that stitch. So I just saw a question pop up, is a sharper hook better? It's going to depend. It totally depends. It's one of those things, honestly, where some projects I want a sharper hook depending on the type of stitch I'm making. Sometimes I want a duller hook because I'm working with the yarn that does want to split. It's going to be personal preference in the end. Right now, I would say just go ahead and work with whatever you've got. As you advance with crochet and you try other projects, you're probably going to have quite the crochet hook collection, and then you can play with all the different sizes and the different styles and see what works for you. I think everybody really has their own personal preferences. So let's go ahead and say we've got our 23 chains made. Or if you can't get to 23, then you can just try and get to an odd number. So if you've really struggled to get those 5 chains made, that's great. If you've got 4, add 1 more. Go ahead, just try and get to an odd number of stitches. And remember, you can count those by counting those little V's that you've made. See how there's little V's nested inside each other? Each one of those V's is going to be a stitch, not the loop on your hook. Okay? And in terms of making those chains all the same size, that's just practice. There's not really a trick for it per se, but you just have to keep practicing. You can go ahead and pull them out, make them again, like I showed you. Just go ahead and keep practicing your chains. The evenness of your chains will come with time. It really is just something you have to keep practicing with. So let's go ahead and start row 1. So let's pull the written instructions right back up here so we can take a look at those here. I'm going to grab another hook to point with here. So we have, with our main color, chained 23. So now we're ready to make our first row. And that little abbreviation RS means that's going to be the right side. Now, this is a washcloth, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you from experience, don't worry too much about right side, wrong side right now, okay? This is officially, there's a right side to this, but I don't think it's going to matter. And I just saw somebody post they have 25 stitches. Totally fine. Stick with it. Don't worry about it. You've got an odd number. You're ready to continue. So let's go back to our written pattern here, and our instructions say 1 SC into 2nd CH from hook. Those are those abbreviations I was talking about. SC means single crochet, and CH means chain. And those are listed up here in the abbreviations if you forget to. So this means 1 single crochet in the 2nd chain from the hook. So let's go ahead and do that. What does that mean? That means we are going to make our first, oops, that hook's rolling around on me. There we go. That means we're going to put our first stitch not in this chain that's right next to the hook, but in the next chain after that. Now, you need to make a decision. Where are you going to work into that chain? Different people like to make those stitches in different places of the chain. And there's no right or wrong answer unless the pattern itself requires you to work in a certain spot. So I'm going to show you what I think is the easiest way to do it. But if you prefer to do it a different way, I will show you a couple different ways too. First, let's show you the standard way. The standard way would be to skip those 2 V's closest to the hook, find those next 2 V's. Those are going to be, or the next V rather, the next 2 loops right there. So we've got 1 V right next to the hook. We've got another V right there. What you would do is, while keeping that loop on your hook, you can use your finger to hold it there if you need to. You want to go under both of those loops of the V with your hook, like so. Let me pull that up a little bit closer here, give the camera a chance to adjust. There we go. So you can see I've still got that loop on my hook, and now I'm under those top 2 V's. So underneath, there's that loop that was in the back of our chain. We want to make sure that's back there, otherwise we're just going around the whole thing. We want to go into our stitch like that. Then, to make a single crochet, we yarn over. Again, we're coming from the back to the front. And it looks a little different once you're working with it, but you can see it's over the top of the hook, then pull that hook right under both of those loops. And now we've got 2 loops on our hook. So what do we do with those loops? We yarn over again from back to front, and we pull that loop through both of those loops that were on the hook. And just like that, we've made a single crochet. Don't worry, I'm going to do it again. Go ahead and pull that out, just like that. You can go ahead and give that stitch a tug and it goes away. So let's do that again. We've got the loop on our hook, we've got the V closest to our hook, and then we've got the next V down. We want to put our hook under those 2 loops of the V, under both of them, just like so. There we are. And make sure that the bottom loop of that chain is underneath our hook. Then we yarn over from back to front over that hook, pull that loop on through the stitch, pull it right on up and through. Now we've got 2 loops on our hook, so we yarn over again and pull through those 2, like so. And that's our first single crochet. If you don't like it, if it looks bad, you can just take that hook out, give it a tug, and it all goes away and we're right back to our chains. Now, like I said, that's sort of the standard, most official way to work into the chain. Now I want to show you the way that I think is easiest and gives a really nice finished edge. Excuse me. What I like to do is actually flip my chain over and work from the back side. Now on the back side of the chain, let me hold it up a little closer here so we can get a good look. Get the camera to adjust and focus in here a little bit. On the back of the chain, you can see we just have these single humps. Hump, 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 all in a line. Now that's another way you can count your stitches. If you want to, each one of those little humps is also a chain. And I like to turn it over and not work into that hump closest to the chain, that one right there, but come down to the next one and just go right under that one. And I like doing that because now I'm only trying to really go under one chain, or excuse me, one loop of the chain. I've still got those 2 loops now on the back because I'm doing it upside down, but I'm only concentrating on going under one. And for whatever reason, that seems to be a little bit easier for me. So you can do it either way. However you can work into that stitch and is easiest for you is totally fine. Then you yarn over again, pull that loop through, yarn over again, pull through both of those loops, and you've made a single crochet. It doesn't look like much, but it is really, there's that next step, that foundation of all the stitches. I will absolutely be doing these again. So let me pull that again, pull that on through, pull it back out. So now we've just got our chains. I'm going to skip that back hump that's closest to my hook right there. Let me see how close I can get it here and get the camera to still focus. There we are. So you can see this is the loop that's on my hook. There is a hump on the back of a chain right there. Come down to that next hump, the one right there. And I'm just going to put my hook right under that loop, straight through my chain. All right. Then I yarn over with my yarn from back to front, pull it through the chain. So now I have 2 loops on my hook, and then I yarn over again and pull through both of those loops to make a single crochet. So you can get a look here at what a single crochet looks like. That little loop that when we pulled through those 2 loops, that last one we pulled through creates a new V at the top of this stitch. So that's how we'll be counting these stitches as well, is by that V at the top of the stitch. So there's one single crochet. Now for this pattern, we're not going to make a whole row of these. We're going to be switching between single crochets and double crochets. So if we go back to our written instructions, we've made 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Done. That's what we just did. Now you'll see an asterisk right there. Let me pull that up a little closer. Hopefully you've got the written one in front of you as well. And that asterisk tells us we're going to be beginning a section that we're going to repeat over and over till we get to the end of our row. So what comes after the asterisk? 1 double crochet in the next chain, period. Then 1 single crochet in the next chain. Then we repeat from the asterisk to the last chain. So DC is our new abbreviation here. That means double crochet, and I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. But we're just going to keep repeating from that asterisk until we get to the very last chain. So we have a double crochet, then a single crochet, a double crochet, then a single crochet. So let's go back to our work here and make our first double crochet. So we've got our single crochet. A double crochet is just a variation. We're going to, before we insert our hook in our next stitch, we are going to yarn over. We're just going to use our non-hook hand to keep tension on the yarn so that we've got it yarned over there. Then I'm going to go to the next stitch. So I want to find that back hump again, since I'm working the back humps now, or if you're working under the top V, you can go under both of those. If you're having trouble, you can't get under both those loops, but you don't like the back hump, you can go under just one part of that V, under just one of those loops. As long as you move on to the next stitch each time, it's totally fine. And this will take practice, and reading your work will absolutely take practice. But I want to make sure to get through most of the basics today. So I've got my yarn over. That's what that loop right there is called. I've got the working loop on my hook. That's the loop we had left over from that last stitch. I've got the yarn over for my working yarn. And then I am going to go under the loop for my next stitch of my chain. Like so. So now I've got my hook in the next chain. So I'm going to yarn over again and pull that yarn over through the chain, just through the chain. So now I have 3 loops on my hook. The one left over from the previous stitch, the one I yarned over with, and the one that I just pulled through the chain. So I'm going to yarn over again. We always go over the top of the hook from front to back, or excuse me, from back to front, over the top, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops on your hook only. Okay, I'll do that again, don't worry. But now I've got 2 loops on my hook, so I'm going to yarn over, and now I'll pull through those 2. And that is a double crochet. So if we take a little look here, we can see we've got our single crochet first, followed by a double crochet. And you can see the double crochet is about twice the height of a single crochet. So let's go ahead and do that repeat, or rather the second part of our repeat, because remember our repeat that started with the asterisk is a double crochet, then a single crochet. So here's our double crochet. Now we're going to go to the next stitch to make a single crochet. So we're going to go under that loop. We want to basically be moving away from us. We want to go under the loop from you towards away from you. Then we yarn over, pull up a loop, give them a little tug. If you find your stitches are a little tight, if it's too tight to pull your hook through, you just need to give it a little tug, put a little counterbalance on your work there with your other hand, give it a little tug so you've got some room, and then yarn over and pull through. So that is a single crochet. Now we'll be going back and forth, and we'll be doing the single crochet and the double crochet several times. So we've made a single crochet, it's time for a double crochet. We yarn over, find the next stitch, go under the loop of that next stitch, yarn over, pull that loop through the chain. So now we've got 3 loops left on the hook, yarn over, pull through just those first 2 loops, then yarn over again and pull through those last 2 loops. And now we're back to just 1 working loop on our hook, which is one of the things I love about crochet. So if you need to put your work down and walk away, you can try and keep your hook in there, or you can just kind of pull that loop up nice and high. And if you need to set it down, walk away, take care of your kids, you know, do whatever else you need to do in life, come back to it tomorrow, you can always pick it up and find that loop and stick your hook right back in there. So if you're fumbling, if you drop it off, completely drop it off your hook, it's not a big deal. You're always going to be able to find that one loop and stick it back on your hook. So we've got a double crochet, time for another single crochet. So we want to insert our hook under the loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull that loop on up through so that we have 2 loops in our hook, yarn over and pull through 2 to make a single crochet. The double crochet, we yarn over before we begin our stitch, then insert our hook in the next stitch, yarn over again, pull that through just the chain loop with 3 loops on our hook, we yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. So you can see we've already made several stitches, but if you've made a mistake, not a big deal. Something you really need to get used to with crochet is okay to just go ahead and pull those stitches out. So you can come back and try again. And if you want to, you can go ahead and pull out all those chains and just do it again. You've always got that one last loop that you can put on your hook. So it's okay to go ahead and put lots of tension on either end of your yarn. Go ahead and give it a tug. If you're not pulling on it at all, pulling that loop through is going to be very difficult. So however you like to wind it around your fingers, some people wind it around quite a bit. It's going to be, again, just how the same way you hold your hook, it's going to be personal preference. So coming back to starting row 1, we've just got our chains here. We're going to skip that chain closest to the hook and find the next chain. This time I'll go ahead and work into those top 2 loops. So we want to insert our hook under the loops of the chain, like so. Yarn over and use your hook to pull that loop up through the chain so that you just have 2 loops left on your hook. Yarn over and pull both of those loops, and that's a single crochet. To make the double crochet, we yarn over, we find those 2 loops of the next stitch or the next chain, insert our hook under there, yarn over, pull that through. You can see how I'm really putting some tension on those stitches. I'm holding onto that chain really tightly with my thumb and my middle finger, and I'm using my middle finger and my forefinger held together to add a little tension on the working yarn as well. Again, this all takes practice, and that's fine. It's fine to feel fumbly right now. Once we've got 3 loops on our hook, we yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through those last 2 loops, and that's your double crochet. I will absolutely be doing this again. First, we'll start with a single crochet. We're going to go under the top 2 loops of the next chain. Let's see here. And it can take a minute. Go ahead and take your time. There we are. Let me pull that out of the way a little bit so we can see. We've got my hook now under those top 2 loops. So I'm going to yarn over and pull that up through my chain, and then yarn over again and pull through both of those 2 loops. And that's a single crochet. The double crochet, which is twice as tall, we're going to yarn over before we begin our stitch, insert our hook into that next chain again, and this time we're going under the top 2 loops. But again, wherever you can work into the chain right now that's comfortable for you is totally fine. Right now we're just learning the movements, so don't worry too much about making it look perfect or making it look even. That will absolutely come with time. Your first few projects are probably going to look a little wonky. Think of it as if you took up painting. You're probably not going to be painting a Picasso, or well, maybe a Picasso, but probably not a Magritte or something like that the first day. You know, it's going to take practice. So I've pulled that loop on through. So now I've got 3 loops left on my hook. So I'm going to yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops, 2 loops left on my hook, yarn over and pull through those last 2 loops. And that's our double crochet. So remember, with our single crochet, we just go right into that next stitch with our hook. So we've got our hook, our loop from our last stitch. Now we've gone into our chain. Then we yarn over, pull right through that chain. So we've got 2 loops left on our hook, yarn over and pull through 2 to finish our single crochet. Let's make another double crochet. We yarn over first, go into the next chain here, oops, And see, it just fell off. What happened? No big deal. Just do it again. Yarn over. Then go under those top 2 loops, like so. Yarn over again. Pull that loop through. Now we've got 3 loops on our hook. You can see I kind of give them a tug and a little zhuzh there. That makes those loops open up nice and big so that I can pull my hook back through. Then we yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So that's what we're doing essentially for row 1. We're just crochet in the first, or single crochet in the first, double crochet in the next, single, double, all the way across until you get to the end of the row. And you'll finish with a double crochet in the very last chain. That's if you started with an odd number of chains. If you started with an even number of chains and you find you get to the end and you've ended with a single crochet, that's okay too. Don't worry about it too much right now. Like I say, we're just learning the basics. Allie, do we have any questions you think I can answer?
Great question. So there's a couple of questions about how you can keep track of which one's a single crochet or double crochet, or how to tell once you've already finished them.
Great question. Great question. And part of this, like I say, will come with time. Learning to read your stitches is something that, yeah, it just plain takes time. But let's go ahead and take a real close look at them today. Let's see here. I'm going to just give the camera a chance here. We're nicely focused here. So right here, our first stitch was a single crochet. The second was a double crochet, single, double, etc. If I give these a little tug and hold them up a little bit here, then you can see here, this is a single crochet. You can see from the front rather, it sort of just looks like a V. The double crochet here, you can see there is a horizontal bar in the middle there. That's made from that yarn over we make before we go into the stitch. That's what creates that twisted, sort of almost spiral look that you get with a double crochet. So let's go ahead and make these again. I'm going to try and hold them real close to the camera so you can see how they actually look as they're made. So we're going to go into that next chain. And I'm going to use my other fingers here to put a lot of tension on this work. I want to be able to hold it really still. So, and again, that's going to take some getting used to too. It's a lot of pieces to hold on to, and I remember well how very difficult that was at the beginning. So please do be forgiving with yourself and take your time. So I've got some stress here. I've got some tension on my different parts of my project. I'm going to go into that next chain. And if you're having trouble getting through those chains and separating those bits, it's okay to go ahead and really use the hook portion of your hook to split those strands apart. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. Now we're in focus again. I can use my hook to actually sort of pull that bottom one down by itself so that now I've got 2 loops left on my hook right there. The 2 parts of that stitch, I should say, the 2 parts of that chain. So then we yarn over and pull that loop through. Remember, we're making a single crochet. I've got 2 loops on my hook. So to finish single crochet, all I need to do is yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So we've just made a single crochet. So we only want to look at that one right now. And that is what a single crochet looks like from the front when it is finished. It's a little different from the back. So there we are. That's the back of a single crochet. You can see it's similar. It's got 2 little sort of legs there, and then the 1 bar at top, which is part of the top of the stitch. Oops, there we go. And if we look at from the very top of our stitches, as if we were sort of, standing on top of a tower looking down, then we can see that line of V's again, just like we have with our chains. And we can count our stitches that way too. So that first V there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. Again, we don't count that loop that we will be working with on our hook. So that was the single crochet. Now let's do a double crochet in close up here so we can look at how that really works and comes together. We're always going to be stitching from the front until you get to some fancier stitches, but for now we're just stitching from the front. So we've got our yarn here. We're going to yarn over for a double crochet before we begin our next stitch. Then we insert our hook in that next chain. And again, if you can't quite split it, if you can just get one one loop of that chain over your hook, you'll be good to keep going. So then we yarn over again, pull on through that chain. Oops, and if it falls off like that, no big deal. Just do it again. Yarn over, pull on through that chain. Okay. So now we've got 3 loops on our hook. You can see right here, the one we started with, the one that we yarned over, and the one that we just pulled through the chain. Then we yarn over again, pull through just those first 2 loops. So take your time with this, and it's okay to do them one at a time if you have to. Pull through one, then pull through the other, but you want to pull through those first 2, so now you've got 2 loops left on the hook. You can see right there, it almost looks a little bit like a single crochet, but we've still got 2 loops left. So we're going to yarn over again and just pull through those last 2 loops to finish our double crochet. So now, if we take a real close look at that double crochet, you can see how it differs from the stitch before it. The single crochet just had that really simple V up front, and now the double crochet has this sort of twist in it, this horizontal bar that was created by that yarn over. That's all we had to do to completely change the height and look of this stitch, was add a yarn over before we went into the next stitch. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. As you master these beginner skills for crochet and then move on to other stitches, it's often going to be just a matter of where do you yarn over and where do you insert your hook. So let's keep going here. We've made a single crochet and a double crochet, and we want to keep working on across to the end of our row. So let's do another single crochet together. We're not going to yarn over first because it's just a single crochet. We go under those loops for our chain, however you like to work into that chain right now. Don't stress it too much. Yarn over again, pull that loop up through the chain. So now we just have those 2 loops on our hook and the chain's doing its own thing back here. Then we yarn over again and pull through both of those loops to make our single crochet. Then we make a double crochet. We yarn over first, go into the next stitch. There we go. Yarn over again, pull that up through the chain like so. So we've got 3 loops on our hook. Then we yarn over again, pull through those first 2 loops, and then yarn over again and pull through the last 2 loops. And that's our double crochet. So that's what we're going to be doing all the way across. Now, I saw something just pop up. If your rows are curling, that happens. It has happened. Some stitches do it more than others, and it's okay. As we make more rows, odds are that's going to straighten out that curve quite a bit. If your work is curving this way, then it may mean that your chains were just a little tight, and that's okay. If you are still stuck at your chains and your chains are just too big for you to work into, you can also try a larger hook. So if you have a larger hook and you're really struggling to pull your stitches through, that's something you can try too. But overall, it just takes practice. So let's continue on across row 1. The next stitch right here, here's our next chain ready for us to work into. And I just made a double crochet, which I can tell because it's tall and has that horizontal bar. So then I just want to go right into that next stitch for a single crochet. And here you can see now I've only got 1 loop on my hook. That's okay. If you can only get 1 loop of that chain on your hook, that's okay for now to just keep practicing. But you want to try to get those top 2 or just that bottom one, however you like to do it. Yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through to finish our single crochet. So Allie, can you tell me how we're doing on time?
Yes, we are actually at 4:54.
Holy crow. Okay, so what I'm going to do is pretend that I have gotten to the end of my first row, if that's all right with everybody, because I really want to show those who have gotten to the end of the first row how to go ahead and start row 2. So the end of the first row should end with a double crochet. So that's what I'm going to do here. You can see I've yarned over. I go into that next chain. I'm going to pull up my loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. So I'm going to go ahead and pretend that was my last chain. One of the fun things about crochet is you can do that. You've only got that 1 working loop. You've only got this 1 hook. You can put that hook anywhere. So how do we make row 2? To begin row 2, I'm going to pull it up real quick here so we can get going on it. We're going to chain 1 single crochet in the first stitch, in the first double crochet, and then begin our repeat. 1 double crochet in the next single crochet, 1 single crochet in the next double crochet. So basically, we're going to be doing the same thing again, but this time we're going to be working into stitches instead of chains. So first thing we noticed was chain 1. Why do we chain 1 at the beginning? That chain 1 is called a turning chain, and it's sort of like a ladder. We're not going to work into it, but it's going to lift us up so that we're tall enough to work back across for that second row. So to chain, after you've been making stitches, we just yarn over again and pull right on through that loop. Just as we made our other chains, we've just made another one. Now to begin row 2, we are going to turn our work. And I like to always try and turn it the same way. So I turn mine over this way, sort of from right to left for me. If I were left-handed, I would turn it over from left to right like that. So whichever way is more comfortable for you, if you're right or left-handed, you just want to try and maintain consistency. That's going to make the sides of your rows a lot more even. So I'm going to turn my work over. So now when I work, I'm going to be working into those stitches of row 1. So the first stitch we make is a single crochet. I don't want to work into that turning chain. I want to find that top V of that last stitch we made in row 1, right there. There's those 2 loops on top. So I'm going to go right under those with my hook and yarn over, just as I did before, from back to front over the top. Pull that loop under those 2 loops. Now I've got those 2 loops on my hook, and just as before, we yarn over and pull through those 2. So we've made a single crochet right in the top of that stitch. So then we yarn over, go to the next stitch. We can find that top V there, right on top, or if we're coming from this side, you can see there's like a little hole there. There's almost a little space. That's where we're sticking our hook. So since we're making a double crochet, we yarn over, go right where that hole is waiting for us. Let me pull it up a little closer, right there. That's right where our hook goes. It goes perfectly under those 2 loops for our V. Yarn over, pull it through. We've got our 3 loops on our hook, and we can yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. And we're just going to continue on across for row 2, just like we did with row 1. With row 1, you should end with a double crochet in the last stitch. Now, if you started with an even number of chains so that you ended on a single crochet, you'll just end on a single crochet again for this one too. Not a big deal. This is really just about practicing your stitches. So you just go to the very next little space right there waiting for you with your hook, pull up your loop, make your single crochet, and then yarn over, find that space in the next stitch there, right in line, go right in there with your hook, pull up your loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. And then rows 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, etc. are exactly the same as row 2. So that row 1 gets us all set up. And then row 2, we're just moving back and forth exactly as we were before. So if we go back to our written pattern real quick here, you'll see it says continue and repeat the second row for the pattern. So that means we just keep making that second row. Then you continue in that pattern until it's about 7 inches long. So right here, you can see is that finished 7 inches. And if you don't get to exactly 7 inches, if you want to go longer, if you're really enjoying practicing it, go ahead and keep going. Don't worry about it too much. But for Crochet 102, we want to have approximately a square. So you can see here, it is a nice square shape. So don't worry too much about being the exact same size as in the written pattern. But if you can get a nice square made for the Crochet 102 class, we'll be all set to go over how to finish the square off and then how to add the edging. So I think that's probably where we need to stop, unless we have questions, Allie.
Awesome. If anybody has any last minute questions, feel free to let us know here in chat. So the pattern does go single crochet, double crochet the whole way.
Whole way. Single crochet,
Awesome.
double crochet. That's the whole pattern.
Great. And I definitely think, you know,
Excuse me.
everyone, I absolutely encourage you to rewatch the video. I told Tamara before this class, it took me 2.5 hours to learn how to chain. So, I mean, I think a lot of you actually learned in this class. So, I mean, it's amazing. And it definitely takes patience, and don't get stressed out. It should be fun. So just practice every day. That's what somebody just said. So I absolutely, I mean, it will take you time to finish your project.
Yes. But once you get it, these basic moves, I know it's a lot of fine motor coordination, you know, but practice, and eventually it's second nature, and then you could add more stitches and different shapes and make all kinds of things. I did see one quick question pop up, 22 stitches. Remember, we chained 23, but we skipped that first chain. Now that I've told you about turning chains, that was the turning chain for that very first row. Now you know that lifted us up to make that first row. So you chain 20, if you chain 23, you should have 22 stitches in every row after that, because we're working into each stitch of the row.
Awesome. And just to remind everybody, so the class recording will be available at michaels.com/classes, and Crochet 102 is on, let me just pull up my calendar, June 27th at the same time. So 2:30 or 3 o'clock Central.
Yes,
3 o'clock Central.
Wherever you are, I'm Central. 3 o'clock here. Well, 4 o'clock now, but wherever you are, an hour ago.
Yes. So again, on the 27th, and that class you can actually already sign up for. The listing is already online here. And again, the class recording will be at michaels.com/classes.
And it would be June 27th, I believe, for the next one in 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay, off the top of my head.
Exactly 2 weeks from today.
Oh. We had to repeat it. Like, I think it's June 27th. All right, so, okay.
Awesome, everybody. Well, thank you for a fantastic class, Tamara. I know that this, I mean, awesome beginner 101 class. I think we've had a lot of people who have definitely been very encouraged to keep going, and then a lot of people who really seem to be getting along really well. I know I saw someone who was struggling at the beginning, and they were already 5 rows in. So congratulations. Awesome. You are a super fast learner. Awesome. But great class today, and we're just absolutely continue to check back on michaels.com/online classes for tons of different classes in different areas. But of course, we have knit and crochet classes every week. So continue to check back to sign up for more classes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a lot of fun to spend time with you guys, and thank you to Michaels for having me.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a great day.